Hey guys, tonight we're falling asleep somewhere unexpected, inside a stone watchtower, halfway up a remote, wind-bitten ridge of the Great Wall of China. The night air is sharp, your fingers are numb, and there's a faint, rhythmic creaking from the wooden roof beams above. You shift on your blanket, barely thicker than a napkin, and the cold seeps into your bones like ink into rice paper. It's silent, eerily so, except for one lonely owl and the soft whistle of wind funneling through arrow slits. You close your eyes, and something begins to change. Your body tingles. Time thins. You blink, and suddenly, you're still in the tower, but not exactly. You're wearing unfamiliar clothes, thick cloth armor, a lacquered helmet that pinches your temples, and a belt knife with a dragon-carved hilt. Outside the doorway, torchlight flickers. Horses snort. A drum beats once, low and slow. You are a soldier now, posted on the Ming Dynasty's northern frontier. Welcome to your dream life. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, while you're at it, post your location and what time it is where you are. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step out of the tower into night that feels carved from obsidian. The stars above are sharper than you've ever seen. No city glow here, just a ribbon of silver stretching over endless black hills. The wall undulates like a sleeping dragon across the ridgeline, each watchtower glowing faintly with firelight. You take a moment to breathe. It's not peaceful. It's too tense for that. But it's strangely still. You know your place, your duty. You scan the hills, eyes trained for movement. Down below, in the distance, a torch flares. Is that one of yours? Hard to say. You grip your bow a little tighter. This part of the wall, near present-day Gubeku, is among the older sections, mostly stone, patched with layers of brick and rammed earth. You run your fingers along the wall's surface. It's scarred from decades of wear, arrow nicks, and graffiti you probably shouldn't translate out loud. Some guards claim they've seen stones bleed red at dawn. You file that under weird things people say when they haven't slept in 3 days. Behind you, your unit leader, a grumpy man named Jin, with exactly 2 teeth and a fondness for kicking barrels, orders a routine patrol. You nod. There's no arguing. You walk, boots crunching softly on stone, past torch-lit arches and little pigeon nests tucked into the wall joints. Historians still argue whether the Great Wall was ever truly effective as a barrier. Some claim it worked more as a psychological deterrent, proof that the Empire was watching. Others argue it was more of a glorified highway for troop movement. But for now, standing here, you don't care about the politics. You're just cold, sore, and hoping the fire in the tower hasn't gone out. One fact you do know: the Ming built this stretch to replace earlier earthen walls. Their stonework was more permanent, and their patrol system more rigid. 1 man misses a watch duty, and 10 men lose a month's pay. Speaking of pay, yours is already 3 weeks late, and Jin muttered something earlier about getting compensated in grain again. You roll your eyes. Your dream self is weirdly bad at budgeting. A soft click behind you. You freeze. Was that a loose stone? A signal? You turn slowly. Nothing there. Maybe a fox. Maybe not. The wind picks up again, and the cold feels personal now, like it's testing your resolve. Eventually, the patrol ends. You return to your watchtower, ducking under the low beam that always hits your head, even in dreams. Inside, a tiny brazier still burns. Another soldier sleeps nearby, mouth open, snoring like a dying goat. You settle down, using your arm as a pillow. And yet, sleep doesn't come. Not easily. Your mind drifts to your family in a village far south, to the girl who said she'd wait, but probably won't, to the stories told about this place. Like how one tower supposedly disappears from maps at midnight, or how a watchman once spotted the same rider 5 nights in a row, galloping but never arriving. You glance out the slit window again. No rider tonight, just stars. Eventually, your eyes begin to droop. The fire dies low, and your dream within a dream begins to stretch further. And here's where it gets weird, because as your breath slows and your dream self begins to truly sleep, something else enters the picture. Something that doesn't feel like part of the regular rotation. A strange vibration underneath your sleeping mat. Not an earthquake, not wind, almost like music? Very low, very old. You can't tell if it's real or imagined, but it pulls at the edge of your consciousness. You press your ear to the stone floor. Nothing. You sit up, and suddenly, a flash of movement out the window. A horse. No rider. You rush out to the battlements, heart hammering. The moonlight is silvery and strange. The wind picks up again. Your torch flickers, and below, in the distance, the horse vanishes behind a ridge. You think of waking the others. You decide against it. Maybe you're just tired. Maybe that millet wine from last night was stronger than advertised. Or maybe, just maybe, this dream is trying to show you something deeper. You return inside, trying to shake the tension out of your shoulders. No use. Sleep won't come again tonight. Not fully. You stare at the ceiling, fingers interlaced over your chest, and listen to the creaking roof, waiting for morning, or whatever comes next. Because in dreams like this, you don't get to choose when the chapter ends. Morning comes with the subtlety of a drum to the face. Someone outside is banging a pot with a stick, your version of an alarm clock, and your body reacts before your brain does. You sit up too fast, knock your head on the low beam, again, and let out a muffled grunt. The snoring goat man next to you groans and rolls over. You step out into the dawn fog, where the cold has only slightly softened into a clammy sort of discomfort. Your joints ache from the stone floor, and your knees crack in protest. Welcome to soldier life on the Great Wall. No hot showers, no soft beds, just grit, smoke, and the ever-present smell of pickled cabbage. You shuffle over to the communal fire pit where the cook, affectionately nicknamed Fat Bowl, is ladling grayish stew into wooden bowls. Breakfast, apparently, is millet again, boiled down into a kind of warm sludge that tastes like wet cardboard, but smells surprisingly not awful. You sit on a smooth rock and eat, watching steam curl from your bowl into the air. A chicken pecks around your boots. It's unclear if she's a pet or just lost. Your uniform isn't much better than your breakfast. Coarse cotton tunic, patched over so many times it's become its own kind of quilt. Foot wraps, not socks, are wound tightly around your feet, trapping both heat and the faint memory of yesterday's blisters. They itch constantly. You're not supposed to complain. You complain anyway, quietly. As you chew your way through the last of the mush, a younger soldier named Wei plops down beside you. He's new, cheerful in that way that makes you suspicious. "Only 3 lice this morning," he says proudly, scratching behind his ear. A personal record. You try not to smile. Fail. Life here may be hard, but it has its odd little victories. After breakfast, it's time for training. You gather in the courtyard with the others. The drill master, a former bandit with one eye and the voice of a disgruntled goose, barks commands. You raise your practice spear, feel the familiar weight, and fall into step. Thrust. Block. Step. Turn. Again. Your muscles burn. Your mind drifts. Historians still argue whether Ming wall troops were elite warriors or more like unpaid construction interns with spears. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Some were conscripted farmers. Others, like you in this dream, were full-time soldiers, better trained, but still sleeping under leaky roofs and wondering if their paycheck would arrive before winter. Quirky detail for your collection. Some units used bamboo tubes strapped to their backs to carry messages. Primitive, waterproof scroll cases. Yours is empty today, but you check it anyway, out of habit. By mid-morning, the sun's burned off the fog, and the wall gleams faintly under a thin crust of frost. You join your squad for an inspection shift. This means walking a 2-kilometer stretch of the wall, noting cracks, loose bricks, or signs of tampering. You've grown weirdly good at spotting bird droppings versus Mongol vandalism. As you walk, a crow lands nearby and watches you like it's expecting gossip. You mutter, "Not today," and keep moving. You pass a shrine tucked into the wall's alcove, decorated with red cloth and tiny clay soldiers. Someone's left half a dumpling there. An offering, maybe. You leave it be. Dream or not, you're not about to upset the wall spirits. By now your feet are sore, your calves are protesting, and the sun is too high for comfort. You pause at a crumbling section of battlement and look out at the landscape. It's not flat farmland or endless desert. Here, the hills roll like frozen waves, their slopes a patchwork of pines, scrub, and rocky veins. You imagine invaders trying to sneak through that. Not impossible, but certainly inconvenient. Still, you know the truth. The wall isn't impenetrable. It's more like a suggestion written in stone. Below, you spot a pair of farmers tending small plots near the base of the wall. They're waving. You wave back. They're either incredibly friendly or want to sell you pickled radish again. Either way, it's oddly comforting. You return to the tower for midday rest. Though rest just means sitting on a barrel and hoping no one asks you to dig latrines. As you lean back, Jin, the grumpy, tooth-deficient squad leader, walks past and tosses a bundle at your chest. Foot wraps. Clean. Shockingly. "Lucky day," he grunts. "Found him under the bunk of a guy who died last week." You blink. "Thanks?" "Better than yours," he says, disappearing around the corner. You don't ask any more questions. While replacing your wraps, you think again about the strange vibration you felt last night. The low music. You ask Wei if he heard anything weird, but he just shrugs and goes back to writing a letter home with charcoal on a bamboo strip. He claims it's a poem, but you sneak a glance and see it's mostly complaints about the stew. The afternoon is slow, which means cleaning weapons and pretending not to notice that the tower roof is missing 3 tiles. One soldier swears he saw a snake slither out of the rafters yesterday. You make a mental note to sleep with one eye open. You do find one peaceful moment, perched on a parapet, sun warming your back. You pluck a stray reed from your helmet and let your legs dangle over the side. Somewhere below, a flute plays faintly from a nearby farmhouse. The melody is simple, haunting. For a moment, the noise of soldier life fades. Then a shout snaps you back. "Inspection again!" groans someone nearby. You sigh, stand up, and march back down the battlement, one foot in front of the other, always forward. By the time evening rolls around, your stomach is rumbling again. Dinner is millet stew, but this time, there's a slice of preserved radish on top. It's like someone's idea of luxury. You raise a bowl in mock toast to Wei, who rolls his eyes and says, "Still better than that rat we ate last week." You laugh, then catch yourself, because for a moment, it doesn't feel like a dream anymore. It feels like you've really lived this day. Aching feet, strange warmth, ghost stories, and all. You wonder what tomorrow will bring. Probably another bowl of mush, maybe another whisper from the wall itself. And somewhere in your bones, the dream starts stretching again, just slightly. A pulse under the stone, a vibration you can't quite explain. Sleep is coming again soon, and with it, new trouble. You wake before the rooster does, which should be illegal in any time period. The sky outside your tower is still deep blue, not quite night, not quite morning. You sit up slowly, foot wraps already tangled around one ankle, and stretch until your shoulders pop like old bamboo. Your joints are starting to get used to this dream body, or maybe the wall is just getting under your skin. You swing your legs over the edge of your straw mat and stand, squinting at the jagged silhouette of the great wall stretching off into the haze. From this angle, it looks less like a fortress and more like the ribcage of something ancient and long asleep. Today's task, inspection duty. Again. But this time, it's more serious. An engineer caravan has arrived. You trudge down the steps, past 2 sleepy guards and 1 very awake chicken, and meet up with a team of 5 men in dusty robes with scrolls, measuring cords, and bamboo protractors tucked into their belts. They smell like wax, ink, and travel dust. One of them sneezes as he adjusts his slate tablet. "We're here to assess structural damage and humidity erosion," he says, which sounds like, "We're here to tell you everything's broken." You nod like this makes sense. Inside, you wonder what humidity erosion feels like when it eventually drops you off the wall. As the sun rises, you walk the battlements with the engineers. One of them is charting cracks, hairline splits that spiderweb across the bricks. Another is jabbing mortar with a bronze tool that looks like a fancy chopstick. "Rice paste," he mutters, still holding. You do a double take. "Wait, rice paste?" He nods. Sticky rice and lime. Stronger than cement, if done right. It's true. One of the stranger facts about the Ming Great Wall is that some of its mortar was made using glutinous rice mixed with slaked lime. The result? A surprisingly durable adhesive that's held bricks together for centuries, and allegedly fended off earthquakes. Also possibly delicious, though no one's brave enough to test that. One engineer pulls you aside. "This tower," he says, tapping a thin crack in the archway, "has been patched 3 times in the last 10 years. But look here." He points to the base, where weeds push out through the stone. "If the roots go deeper, the foundation's compromised." You blink. Suddenly, the wall doesn't feel quite so immortal. You look over the edge and see one of the junior engineers waving a flag. Below, a supply mule is struggling up a muddy path. Its cart has tilted sideways, and 3 soldiers are trying to nudge it back onto the trail. The whole scene is exactly the kind of thing you'd scroll past on your phone today, except you're living it, and one of those soldiers is about to fall face first into a puddle. He does. It's glorious. You and the engineer make your way down to help. Mud squelches under your boots as you grab the cart's side and heave. The mule looks at you like this is your fault. The cart finally rights itself, and someone hands you a jug of water in thanks. You take a swig and immediately cough. Not water, definitely vinegar. Everyone laughs, except the mule. The mule still blames you. Back at the top, one of the engineers lays out a full scroll on the tower floor. It's a map, stretched and worn, with each tower marked in red or black. This whole section, he says, pointing with his bamboo stick, was partially rebuilt after a landslide. See the slope? Too steep, always shifting. You nod like you understand. Mostly, you're staring at a symbol near your own tower. A circle. It's not explained on the legend. What's that? You ask. He hesitates. We don't know. Old record. Might be spiritual. Might be geological. Historians still argue whether the Ming deliberately avoided certain geological fault lines, or if spiritual geomancy, feng shui, dictated placement of their forts. This mark could be either, or both, or something else entirely. You lean closer. The ink is faded, almost gone. The engineer rolls it back up quickly and says, "Anyway, moving on." Around midday, a strange group arrives from the next tower up the wall. They're soldiers, sure, but dressed differently. Tighter uniforms, lacquered hats, curved sabers instead of spears. One carries a scroll case tied with black ribbon. They say little. Just nod and pass through. You watch them disappear into the mist. One glances back at you. For a moment, you think you know him. But how could you? Quirky tidbit of the day. It's rumored that some wall towers were connected not just by surface walkways, but by hidden tunnels. Smuggling routes, escape paths, even secret storage chambers. Most are collapsed or forgotten, but occasionally someone stumbles across a hollow noise underfoot or a gust of wind from behind a sealed wall. You keep that in mind. That afternoon, repairs begin on a collapsed stairwell near Tower 87. You and a dozen others haul bricks, mix mortar, and try not to drop anything on your feet. At one point, you catch a brick mid-slide and earn a nod from Jin. This may be the closest thing to praise you'll ever get from him. As you work, you hear snippets of conversation. Bandit sightings. A tower struck by lightning 3 nights ago. A trader bringing news of Mongol movements further north. You file it all away. The wall breathes in information, exhales rumors. You're part of its lungs now. By evening, your body is sore in new and surprising ways. Your hands are blistered, your face smudged with mortar, and there's a pebble permanently embedded in your left boot. You limp back to the tower, where Wei has already claimed the good corner. You settle for the cold one. You lie back, staring at the ceiling again, counting the tiles, until you realize there's one more than yesterday. You sit up, double check. No mistake. Okay, that's new. Outside, the wind starts up again, whistling between the stones. You swear it's forming patterns, almost syllables. You close your eyes, try to ignore it. Just before sleep claims you, there's a soft pop from under your mat, not loud, just enough to make your heart skip. You don't move, not yet, because some parts of this wall are alive, and you're just starting to find out how. You don't scream. That seems important. You lie still, eyes open, breath shallow, the stone floor cold against your cheek. The pop beneath your mat is gone now, silent, like it was never there. But something shifted. You felt it. You sit up slowly. The others are still asleep. Wei is drooling on his blanket. Jin is snoring like a thundercloud. The chicken is asleep too, thank goodness. You slide your mat aside and press your palm to the floor. Nothing. You knock lightly. The stone sounds hollow, which is not normal. There's no time to investigate. A bell clangs once, low, metallic, and unmistakable. The night bell. You're late for watch. You toss on your outer robe and grab your spear. The stairs are slick with condensation as you make your way up to the top of the tower. The moon is barely visible, a smudged coin behind clouds. Down below, mist creeps through the hills like something hunting its way forward, slow and careful. You reach the parapet and take your place. It's colder up here, lonelier too. Tonight, you're posted alone. You lean on the wall, spear resting at your side, and listen. The wind moves like breath over the battlements. Far off, a wolf cries. It sounds almost scripted, like it's part of a haunted soundscape, except it's real. This isn't some theme park exhibit. This is the Ming Dynasty, and you're up past your bedtime with a stick and questionable boots. It's a long night. You pace, you scratch, you hum quietly to yourself, then stop when you realize the tune is the same one the ghost flute played 2 nights ago. Down below, the forest rustles. You grip your spear tighter. That's when you hear the voices. Whispers, light, rapid, not quite Mandarin. You squint into the darkness and make out faint movement, shadows darting between trees. Just a few. Could be animals. Could be worse. You tap the signal bell 3 times. Footsteps pound up the stairs. Jin appears, half-dressed and fuming. What now? You point. He squints. Probably deer or smugglers. He sounds tired, but you catch the flicker of worry in his eyes. Go back to your post, he says, and don't ring that bell unless something's on fire. Fair enough. He leaves. You stay. You grip your spear until your knuckles ache. The shadows vanish. The whispers fade. Still, something's off. You glance down at the wall again. The mortar lines. The bricks. One of them, just one, is slightly darker than the rest. You kneel. Press your hand against it. It's warm. You blink. Pull your hand back. Press again. Still warm. Quirky tidbit. The wall wasn't built all at once. It's actually a chain of overlapping projects, stretching across centuries. Some parts were added hastily, others with care. And a few seem to have been built over something else. You return to your mat just before sunrise. The others are already stirring. Fat Bowl is boiling more millet stew. Wei is brushing his teeth with a twig. Jin is arguing with a courier about the delivery of arrows that are apparently too bendy. You eat in silence, the warm brick still nagging at you like an unfinished sentence. Later that morning, you get stuck cleaning the barracks. It smells like wet straw and ambition. As you sweep, a whisper from last night creeps back into your ears. Not a sound, but a phrase. Yinmen. You pause. You know that word. Everyone does. Yinmen, the hidden gate. Supposedly a sealed passage buried deep beneath the wall. Some say it's where deserters disappeared. Others claim it's where the first stone was laid by order of a divine dragon. It's myth. Superstition. Except now, you're not so sure. After chores, you wander back to the tower. You pass the engineers packing up. One of them, the tall one with ink-stained fingers, nods at you. Check under your floor, he says without looking up. You freeze. What? He glances at you, surprised. For termites, he says. Could weaken the structure. Right. You wait for dusk. After dinner, you claim exhaustion and head back early. You wait until the others are asleep. Then you pull aside your mat and pry gently at the warm brick. It's loose, unnaturally so. You dig your fingers in. Pull. The brick comes out with a soft pop. Beneath it, darkness, and a gap, maybe 2 hand widths wide. You lower your hand in, empty. Then solid stone. Then air. There's a hollow chamber down there. You can't see much, but you smell something earthy, ancient. A breeze, faint and cool, drifts upward. You lie back on your mat, heart racing. Not with fear, though that's part of it, but with the sense that this dream is about to peel back another layer. Sleep finds you again. Slowly. You drift off, thinking about the hidden gate, the warm brick, the phrase whispered on the wind. Yin Men. That night, the wall dreams too. In your sleep, you hear footsteps in the tower above you. Boots on stone. But when you wake and check, there's no one there. Only the faint echo. And the wind, still breathing. The others don't mention any strange sounds at breakfast. You decide not to either. But you catch Wei staring at the wall later that day, his eyes tracking the same brick you touched. You say nothing, because tonight, you're going to find the gate. And whatever's waiting beneath it. Darkness again. But this time, you're moving through it. No torch, no moon, just the occasional shaft of silver light where the mortar has thinned between bricks. The air under the wall is cold, but not dead. It breathes. You should probably feel terrified. You've just pried your way into a sealed space beneath a centuries-old military installation with no map, no permission, and very few life choices that lead to happy endings. Instead, you feel awake, curious, like something ancient has reached through your dream and tugged you closer. The crawl space is narrow. Your shoulders brush the rough walls on either side. You move like a lizard, slow and low. The scent down here is thick, damp stone, burnt oil, and a hint of something metallic. Maybe rust, maybe blood. Probably both, given the Great Wall's long resume. Historians still argue whether the wall was ever meant to have secret chambers. Some records mention internal maintenance corridors. Others speak of sealed sanctums, where ancestors were honored, or enemies were buried alive. Most say it's nonsense. But then again, most of those historians never woke up inside one. Eventually, the tunnel widens. You stumble into a chamber, circular, maybe 10 feet across. You can stand here. Barely. There's something carved into the walls, long, looping patterns that resemble clouds, serpents, and, yep, dragons. Classic. Always dragons. One of them has eyes made from inlaid jade. You reach up and touch it, and for a second, it feels warm. Then your fingers go cold again. On the floor sits an old oil lamp, unlit, but still sticky with residue. You lift it, turn it over. A tiny engraving on the bottom. Bing Kang, Warriors Hidden. Quirky tidbit for you. In some periods, guards were assigned burial stations in case of catastrophic invasions. The idea? If the wall fell, they'd collapse into tunnels like this and either defend from below or never be found. You hear a clink behind you. Not metal. Stone against stone. You freeze. A breeze picks up again, flowing from somewhere deeper. The air has changed. It's drier, warmer now. You press forward, sliding through another narrow archway that wasn't visible before. It opens into what must have once been a storage room. Clay jars, rotted rope, a pile of snapped arrows that look like matchsticks. And then, something wrapped in faded cloth. You kneel, pull the fabric back. It's a suit of armor. Red lacquer, gold trim. Elaborate, but lightweight. And a mask. Smooth bronze, stylized to look calm. Serene. Eerily serene, like someone trying very hard not to scream. You stare at it. You've seen drawings like this. Ceremonial armor, worn by elite scouts or messengers who had to move fast and look impressive while doing it. The kind of person who might be sent into enemy territory alone. The kind of person who might never come back. You lift the mask slowly and feel something shift in the room, like the weight of watching eyes. Not hostile, but expectant. You don't put it on. Yet. Instead, you sit beside the armor and rest. You're not tired, but your limbs buzz like they've run too far. Your heartbeat echoes faintly in the chamber. And above you, muffled but unmistakable, comes the sound of distant horns. You flinch, then a shout, then another, then the rapid thud, thud, thud of boots. You scramble back into the crawl space, hands scraping stone, breath loud in your ears. You emerge into your tower just as Wei shakes your shoulder. "Get up!" he hisses. "We're under alert. Someone saw movement in the valley." You blink at him, covered in dust. "Where?" "No idea. Jin's already suited up. Hurry!" Your mind is still back in the tunnel, but your hands move on their own, grabbing your armor, lacing your boots, checking your blade. Outside, the tower is alive with motion. Torches lit, bows handed out, everyone talking too fast. You climb to the battlements, and there, far off in the mist, you see it. Movement, not deer, not shadows. Riders, 5, maybe 6, swift, low to the ground. You hear Jin swear. Scouts, maybe bandits, maybe worse. He gestures. You and 3 others take the west wall. You move, breath shallow. Every step feels like it echoes the rhythm of the chamber below, like some ancient tempo is rising again. Then, just when you're settling into the calm before chaos, rain. Of course, because no potential siege is complete without a thunderstorm. The sky cracks open, releasing water like it's been holding a grudge. The torches flicker and hiss. Everything turns slick and dark. Jin barks orders. One man slips on the stairs. Another drops his quiver. You adjust your grip on the spear, the shaft already slick in your hands. Then the signal horn blares again. 3 short bursts. The riders vanish into the mist. No attack, just a warning. A test. But it's enough. You spend the next hour drenched, patrolling the perimeter, nerves fried. Eventually, word comes from the next tower. False alarm. No breach. Everyone's soaked and grumpy. But you're thinking about the chamber, the armor, the warm jade eye, the breeze from deeper within. You trudge back to the barracks in soaked boots. Wei offers you half a pickle. You eat it wordlessly. No one talks about the riders. Not yet. As you lie back on your mat, you feel the loose brick again beneath your back. Still warm. Still humming. You close your eyes, and sleep grabs you by the collar. But now, it's pulling you down. Because next, you're going underground. The descent begins in silence. You return to the crawl space the next night, just after the 3rd bell, when the others are too exhausted to notice you slip away. You tell Wei you're going to check the latrine. He makes a face like you just shared too much detail, waves you off, and rolls over. Perfect. Back under the mat, through the hidden brick, you re-enter the tunnel, this time with a small torch stolen from the barracks. The flame hisses softly, its glow pressing against walls that have not seen light in centuries. You crouch low and crawl again, back through the serpentine stone channel until you reach the circular chamber from before. It hasn't changed. The jade-eyed dragon still stares at you like it's daring you to blink. The armor lies where you left it, the mask still serene. But this time, something is different. A narrow gap in the wall you hadn't noticed before. It's just wide enough to fit through sideways. If you exhale first and accept, you might lose a few layers of skin. The tunnel beyond it angles downward, steep and slick. You hesitate. Then, like every horror movie character who makes just enough bad decisions to keep things interesting, you step through. The descent is slow and brutal. The passage curves and narrows, then widens again without warning. You slide once, catching yourself on a protruding stone. A bat flutters past your ear, and your torch sputters in protest. You keep going. You've stopped wondering if this is a dream. It has to be. Otherwise, you've just stumbled into the buried esophagus of a 1,000-mile-long stone creature built by unpaid interns. Eventually, the passage levels out. You enter a chamber so silent it presses against your eardrums. The floor here is packed dirt, not stone. The air is drier, warmer, like the breath of something sleeping deep underground. The walls are lined with cubbies, dozens of them, each containing small bundles wrapped in oilcloth, each marked with symbols you can't read. Some look like weapons. Others may be scrolls. One appears to be a preserved melon. Quirky tidbit. Some ancient garrison's buried supply caches in sealed vaults, hidden from enemies, and sometimes from their own officers. A soldier would carry a hand-drawn map, sometimes tattooed on his arm, to retrieve it in an emergency. The problem? If that soldier died, well, no map, no melon. At the far end of the room is a stone slab, carved with overlapping seal marks, wax, faded ink, a few suspicious scratches. In its center is a symbol you recognize now. The same hidden gate circle from the scroll the engineer showed you. You step forward. Your torch flickers. And then, somehow, you hear humming. Soft. Faint. Female. Your blood goes cold. You turn slowly, expecting a trick of the wind. But no. The humming continues, melodic, slow, echoing faintly through the chamber. It's a lullaby, a sad one, like something sung by someone who never expected to wake up again. You grip the torch tighter and back toward the wall. The melody stops. You wait. Nothing. Then, scratching. Low, from beneath the sealed slab. You press your ear to the stone. The scratching stops. Historians still argue whether burial vaults beneath the wall housed the living, the dead, or a bit of both. Some accounts from the Qing dynasty describe finding bones sealed upright in bricked-off rooms, still dressed in armor. Ritual punishment? Desperate defense? Or, as some fringe believers argue, volunteers willingly entombed to protect the wall in death. You don't stick around to find out. You backtrack through the passage, torch now guttering. You crawl, climb, squeeze, and finally pop back into your tower, covered in dust and breathing hard. Wei's sitting up. He raises an eyebrow. That was the longest bathroom trip I've ever seen. You hesitate, then lie. Blocked latrine? Gross. He rolls over. But not before you notice something. He's holding a map, one drawn in charcoal, on his arm. You pretend not to see. By morning, the camp is buzzing. Jin announces a surprise inspection. A higher-up is coming, some noble from the capital, supposedly checking defenses. Everyone scrambles to look slightly less awful. Foot wraps are double-wrapped. Armor is scrubbed. Even the chicken looks mildly fluffed. But you're distracted. Your mind is back in the vault. Back with the stone slab. The humming. You slip away after drills and return to the engineer's scroll. It's rolled tight, tucked into the base of an old crate. You unroll it again. There, circled in faded red, your tower. And beneath it, faint and scribbled, 2 words in archaic script, roughly translated, sealed passage. You don't tell anyone. Instead, you wait, because tonight, you're going back. But you won't go alone. You approach Wei during evening rations. "Hey," you say casually, handing him a radish. "You ever hear of the Yinmen?" He freezes, looks at you, then nods, slowly, and whispers. "You found it too?" You exhale. For the first time, you're not just dreaming inside this wall. You're becoming part of it. And now, the secrets below aren't just waking up. They're waiting. By sunrise, you're in a completely different world. Not beneath the wall this time, but beyond it. Turns out, Wei has connections. Weird ones. 1 whispered request, 2 tossed coins, and you're smuggled out of your post under the pretense of escort duty, paired with a balding archer named Lin, who hasn't blinked in 5 minutes. You follow a winding cart path through a rocky ravine that curls down toward the lowlands. By midday, the wall is behind you, barely visible through heat shimmer and pine smoke. Then, suddenly, civilization. A frontier town, half carved from the slope of a hill, half spilled out onto the flat below. It's the kind of place that doesn't exist on official maps, which means it's doing very well. Smoke curls from a dozen open grills. Banners flap lazily in the wind, ink fading from too much sun and not enough care. Oxen doze next to yaks. The crowd is a tangle of soldiers, peasants, traders, and people who clearly aren't either. But nobody's asking for ID. Lin disappears almost immediately, muttering something about a lucky dice table. You and Wei step through the city gates, both trying very hard not to look like soldiers. Your disguise? A dirtier uniform and a new sash. Shockingly effective. No one looks twice. Your first stop? The dumpling stand. Because yes, you've been living on fermented radish and beige porridge for days now, and no matter how historically immersive this dream is, your stomach has started drafting angry petitions. The stall owner is a wiry man with 2 gold teeth and a bandana that reads, "Hot." His dumplings are legendary, stuffed with pork, scallion, and, he claims, just a hint of wild garlic. You order 4. Wei orders 7. You eat them all in 3 minutes flat. No regrets. The town is a collage of languages and deals. Mongolian traders haggle with Chinese farmers. A Korean envoy passes through under quiet guard. A man selling spices offers you dried chili flakes that nearly melt your tongue. You're fine. You're cool. You cough only twice and refuse water out of spite. Quirky tidbit of the day. Frontier markets like this were often semi-official. Not exactly sanctioned, but not shut down either. Local governors would turn a blind eye in exchange for bribes or regional harmony. It was the ancient Chinese version of a gray market app store. You and Wei wander through winding alleys, stacked with textiles, bone dice, scrolls, and a suspicious number of roasted beetles on skewers. You pass a street performer juggling ceramic pots, one of which shatters mid-air to polite applause. Kids run past you chasing a hoop with a stick, laughing in a dialect you barely understand. Every few minutes, you hear a bell ring from somewhere deep in the maze. Eventually, you reach the real reason you're here, the back tables of a tea house called Red Moon. The name is painted in faded gold over a door that sags just enough to suggest secrets inside. You duck in. The air is thick with incense, sweat, and stories. A lute plucks softly in the corner. A woman with hair like a silk banner nods at you from behind the counter. Wei points toward a table near the back, already occupied by a man with one sleeve and a face like it's forgotten how to smile. The man doesn't introduce himself, doesn't need to. He taps the table once, then lays out 3 dice. "You want information?" he says. "You gamble first." Wei sighs. "Told you. You sit, you roll. First round, you win. Second round, you lose. Third round, he cheats, but artfully, and you respect that. Then he leans forward and whispers, 'You're not the first to come from Tower 87. Your blood stills. He slides a scroll across the table. Faded, torn, smells like wet feathers. You open it carefully. Inside, a crude sketch of the wall and a tiny X under your tower. "I sold that 10 years ago to a silk trader," he says. "He never came back." "Did he go underground?" you ask. The man shrugs. "He asked about the Yinmen, like you. He left before the rains. Then, nothing." Wei glances at you. He's not smiling anymore. You fold the scroll. "What else do you know?" Another shrug. "Not much. Just this. Every 7 years, the tunnel opens wider. Every 7 years, someone goes in. Never 2. Always 1. Historians still argue whether stories like this stem from real disappearances or from the tendency of bored garrison soldiers to create elaborate ghost stories to kill time between patrols. Either way, the tale's logic is eerie. 1 in, never 2. Why? Who made that rule? You thank the gambler and leave before he can hustle you into another round. Outside, the sky's begun to dim, and a warm breeze rolls through the streets. The crowd has grown louder, rowdier. You pass a puppet show where the Great Wall is portrayed as a giant snake, and the emperor rides its back like a cowboy. 10 out of 10. You hear a commotion near the western gate. A brawl? No, a game. Men tossing dice in a circle, betting knives, rings, salted meat. Lin is there, miraculously winning. You grab his sleeve. "We're heading back." "But you're ahead. That's when you leave." He follows, grumbling. You hike out the same way you came in, ducking past the checkpoint with the help of a dozing guard who's clearly been bribed with more than dumplings. The wall looms ahead as twilight sets in, backlit by a soft pink sky and low drifting clouds. You return to Tower 87 just before curfew. Jin sees you. "Back already? Had to deliver a message," you mutter. He grunts. "Eat fast. You're back on watch." Of course. As you climb the steps, you glance down at the folded scroll in your pocket. The ink is nearly gone, but that X is still there. You press your hand to the parapet wall and listen. Beneath the stone, deep and patient, something hums. The moon tonight is a sly, crooked thing. Half hidden by clouds, it throws long shadows that twitch like they're thinking about getting up and walking away. You're on night watch again, perched at the northern edge of Tower 87, with Wei slumped beside you pretending to stay awake. Your fingers tap the wall rhythmically. You're not nervous. You're alert. That's what you're telling yourself anyway. The air is thick with possibility and roasted barley. Somewhere below, someone's late-night snack is burning. Wei snorts himself awake and nudges your shoulder. You hear that? You both listen. A soft clang, metal on stone, echoes up from the gate below. Not the main gate. The old one. The one nobody uses anymore. Supposedly sealed after the last flood wiped out the lower stairs. You lean forward, squinting through the murk. A lantern glows faintly in the archway. Then a figure moves. Slow, deliberate. Not a soldier. The silhouette is wrong. Taller, broader, wrapped in a traveling cloak. "Who's that?" you whisper. Wei shrugs. Maybe Jin forgot to log someone out. You both know that's not likely. Jin may be many things, mostly annoying, but sloppy isn't one of them. You tap Wei's knee. "We check it?" He grins. "I thought you'd never ask." You descend in silence, skipping the creaky step at the midpoint. At the lower landing, you press against the wall, peer around, and see the figure still there, lanterns swinging slightly in their grip. They're facing the gate, not moving. You draw your sword. Wei clears his throat and steps forward. "Evening walk?" The figure turns. It's a man, older, face shadowed, eyes gleaming. "You're early," he says. "Okay, weird." "You're expected," he continues, motioning with the lantern. "But only one of you." You and Wei exchange a look. "Expected by who?" you ask. The man chuckles. "By the one who remembers." He steps aside, revealing a path you didn't notice before. A narrow walkway down to a terrace, obscured by brush and half-collapsed stone. The kind of thing you'd mistake for rubble if you weren't being invited to follow it. Against every ounce of military training, Wei says, "I'll stay." "You go." You raise an eyebrow. "Why?" He shrugs. "Someone has to tell the tale if you don't come back." How reassuring. You descend the hidden path alone, stepping over ancient roots and ducking beneath low-hanging beams. The terrace opens onto a small platform, just wide enough for a duel. And wouldn't you know it? Someone's already waiting. A woman in dark robes stands at the edge, backlit by lantern light. She holds 2 wooden swords and tosses one toward your feet. "Thought I'd never see another Yin Men Seeker," she says. You blink. She doesn't explain, just raises her blade and drops into a stance. You pick up the training sword, still warm from her hand. And then, you duel. It's nothing like the drills. It's faster, looser, like dancing with knives. She's good, not flashy, efficient. Her strikes sting, her defense is tight, and she circles like she's done this before. You block, pivot, strike, and miss. She taps your wrist. Again, again, a 3rd time. "Not bad," she says, breathing hard. "Most freeze." You manage a grin. "I have bad dreams." She snorts. "You're having one now." You fight until your arms ache, and your foot slips slightly. That's when she lunges, not to strike, but to knock the sword from your hand. It clatters across the stones. She stops, looks at you. "Good enough," she says. "You're in." "In what?" She nods to the lantern-bearing man, who's returned. He hands you a slip of paper. It reads only, "Yinmen, 9 days, under moonless sky." No explanation, just a date. You climb back up, exhausted and buzzing. Wei is sitting on a crate with 2 mugs of rice wine. "Well?" You hold up the note. He whistles low. "You're in." You drink. Historians still argue whether duels like these were ritualized tests or regional improvisations. Some say the Yinmen wasn't a group at all, but a rotating order of elite scouts, chosen by ability and silence. Others believe it was a secret society that stretched across dynasties, its origins lost under layers of folklore and forgotten ink. Later that night, as you patrol the eastern wall, you spot Jin pacing near the training yard. He glances up and calls you over. "There was a breach last night," he says quietly. 3 towers east. You frown. "Bandits?" He shakes his head. "Something else. No bodies. Just a hole, like something tunneled out." Your skin prickles. No one mentions the old gate. No one questions the note in your sleeve. The rest of the week passes in a haze of drills, minor alarms, and strange silences. The scroll from the gambler sits under your cot, unopened since the market. You keep seeing that woman's eyes when you close yours. Sharp, amused, measuring. 9 days pass. On the 10th, you're told you've been reassigned to Tower 96. A promotion, they say. Better rations. You don't argue. Because you already know, Tower 96 is closer to the sealed vault, the hidden chamber, the hum. The moon is gone tonight. New, black, sky like ink. You pack quietly. Wei hands you a dried plum and a smirk. "Try not to die before I do," he says. You salute with mock flair and vanish into the dark. The lantern glows ahead, and the old man waits, just where he was before. You step through the shadowed gate again, sword on your hip, nerve somewhere near your ankles. You're not just walking into the wall anymore. You're walking into its memory. And this time, you're not dreaming. You're part of it. By the time you reach Tower 96, dawn is smearing orange along the ridge, like some bored painter spilled their palette across the mountains. The new tower is leaner than 87, taller, colder, with a watch post that seems to tilt just slightly toward the north, like it's been eavesdropping on some secret whispered by the wind. Inside, the air smells like pine smoke and ink and paper. Lots of paper. You're greeted not by soldiers, but by a wiry man in sky-blue robes who peers at you through spectacles that seem one sneeze away from falling off his nose. "You're early," he says. "Perfect. Come, we've been waiting." "You're not military?" He snorts. "Good heavens, no. I'm an imperial astronomer. I do math, not murder." That's when you realize Tower 96 isn't a military post anymore. It's a research station. And your assignment? You've been loaned out to the Ministry of Works as an escort /scribe/ human pack mule. Welcome to academic service. You follow the astronomer, Master Chang apparently, through the tower's lower chambers, where tables are stacked with scrolls, star charts, maps etched into dried bark, and something that may or may not be a taxidermied duck wearing a tiny crown. "The wall is more than rock and paranoia," Chung mutters. "It's a living instrument." You blink. "I thought it was a wall." He waves a hand impatiently. "That's the small view. Look, every stone, every angle, every turn, it was measured. You think the ancients didn't know about ley lines? Energy flow? Earth chi? He leads you outside to a narrow footbridge between towers. Up here, the air is thinner, the sky broader. Beside you, a much younger woman in dusty robes is sketching in a leather-bound book, eyes darting between the horizon and a strange compass in her palm. "This is Jiayi," Chung says. She tracks the star's reflection in the stonework. See how the wall curves subtly here? Not for defense, for alignment. It breathes with the sky. Historians still argue whether Ming engineers truly built the wall with astronomical intent, or whether scholars like Chung simply found the patterns after the fact. But either way, it's hard to ignore the way the sun rises perfectly between two ridges, or how the wind always seems to change just as a certain tower casts its shadow. Chung hands you a bundle of sticks. Hold these. They're not sticks. They're hollow tubes etched with characters, maybe bamboo, maybe something older. Jia gestures toward a nearby ledge where the ground has been carefully swept clean. She arranges the tubes in a tight circle, nods to you, and then waits. You wait too. Then, at the exact moment the sun's first light hits the wall, a faint whistle sings through the tubes. A low hum, like breath. The sound vibrates through your bones, faint but real. Jia grins. Told you. The wall speaks. You stare. What's it saying? She shrugs. Mostly wind, sometimes names. The rest of the day passes in a strange blend of science fair and spiritual retreat. You carry scrolls, measure tower angles, help Jia weigh stones that hold memory, and even participate in a slow, silent tea ceremony that Chung claims keeps their calculations pure. You're not sure what that means, but the tea tastes like warm plum and nostalgia. Quirky tidbit of the day. Chung believes a migrating turtle once led a Han-era emperor to the Heartstone beneath Tower 96, a black, veined boulder said to hum louder during eclipses. The turtle, he says, died immediately after. Jia keeps a tiny turtle figurine around her neck in its honor. That night, you climb to the top of the observatory platform. The wind tugs at your sleeves, and the stars are unnervingly bright. Chung stands beside you, holding a polished bronze disc he calls the dragon mirror. He points. See that? He whispers. The belt of Orion, just above the northern ridge? That's the gate marker. For what? The lost path, the route beneath the wall. You go still. You mean the tunnel? Chung nods. Not a tunnel, a vein. The ancients carved it to channel qi, then sealed it when things got unpredictable. You remember the duel, the scroll, the gambler's story. You ask. So, is the wall alive? Chung doesn't laugh. Instead, he says, it dreams. Historians still argue whether concepts like qi and the wall's breath are metaphors or misunderstood remnants of actual engineering marvels. Resonance chambers, air ducts, even primitive geothermal systems. But dream or not, something moves here. Something ancient. The next day, a caravan arrives. Scribes, couriers, a silk-clad official from Beijing with a nose so sharp it could split hairs from across the courtyard. He's here to check progress, and immediately decides he hates you. Another stray soldier? He sneers. Wonderful. More mud on the scrolls. He's the kind of guy who reads titles before names and thinks regular breathing is too common for his rank. Chung loathes him. Jia calls him duck face under her breath. But duck face brings news. His Majesty is troubled, he announces. The wall consumes too much coin. Its hunger grows. Some within the court ask if it is cursed. That word lingers. Chung snorts. It's not cursed, just misread. The official glares. We'll see. Later that night, Jia pulls you aside. He's not here to observe. He's here to shut it down. You stare at the polished stones, the breathing tubes, the mirrored dragon disc. What happens if they abandon this tower? Jia shrugs. Then it sleeps deeper. Or It wakes alone. That night, as the wind howls around Tower 96, you lie on your cot and listen to the walls creak. Not the usual sounds, not wind and rat scratch. Something deeper, rhythmic, like breath, like it's dreaming again. Just before sleep claims you, a phrase floats through your mind. Every 7 years, someone goes in. And suddenly, you know what you'll do next. You're going in. Whether it's a tunnel, a tomb, a divine vein of old chi, it doesn't matter. Because the wall wants to be found, and you're already part of its dream. You wake before dawn, breath visible in the cold, and heart already sprinting ahead of your body. Today is the day you descend. Jiayi meets you at the base of Tower 96, holding a paper lantern and a tightly wound scroll. Her eyes flick toward the upper windows, no sign of Duckface or Cheng. They're distracted, she whispers. That's your gap. She hands you the scroll. It's not a map. It's a riddle. At Moon's Drop, where Dragon sleeps, follow Frost to Hollow Keep. Beneath the pass where winds forget, step in silence. No regret. Very charming. You tuck it into your robes and follow Jiayi down a switchback path skirting the outer edge of the wall. Below, a valley yawns open, filled with pale fog that moves like it's thinking. Beyond the mist lies the Western Pass, a place soldiers whisper about but rarely post to. There's no tower, no gates, just a broken segment of wall curving like a rib bone into nothing. They say no one stationed there lasts more than a week. They say it's haunted. You get there by midday. No guards, no lights. Just a jagged archway half buried in moss. And, of course, a single shoe sitting on the stone. You ignore it. Definitely not creepy at all. Inside the ruin, it's silent. Too silent. You tread lightly across broken tiles and scattered bones. Animal, probably. Hopefully. There's a shattered brazier in the center of the chamber and blackened walls that still smell faintly of burnt herbs. You pause. The air presses down. Then, a humming sound. Familiar. From below. You kneel and tap the floor. Hollow. Your fingers find a small ring of iron embedded in the stone, covered in dust and dried lichen. You pull. With a creak and a groan, a trap door opens, releasing a waft of cold air that smells like damp parchment and old breath. And music. Faint. Melancholy. A woman's voice singing, wordless but familiar, like a lullaby you've never learned, but somehow remember. You descend, one stone step at a time, torch lit, sword close. Below is a tunnel, carved too smooth for any crude excavation. It curves downward into the rock itself, the walls inlaid with what look like tiny shells or fossilized beetles. Weird flecks, ancient builders. The song gets louder, until suddenly, it stops. You round the bend, and she's there. A woman, sitting cross-legged in a pale robe that shimmers like mist. Hair unbound, hands resting on her knees. Her eyes are closed, but she speaks before you do. You heard the gate. Her voice is soft, like water dripping through leaves. You open your mouth, but she holds up one finger. I was the last, she says. Until you. You step closer. She opens her eyes. Gray, unfocused, like she's seeing you from a dream. I guard the threshold, she continues. The wall remembers all who forget. That sounds like poetry, or possibly a threat. You're not sure. You try humor. Any chance you're just lost? She smiles faintly. I am what remains of memory. Then she fades. Not disappears. Fades, like morning fog or a story left unfinished. You're alone again, standing on ancient stones in a tunnel no one above will admit exists. You should leave. You don't. Instead, you follow the path further, until the tunnel widens into a low, vaulted chamber. In the center stands a black obelisk, no taller than your chest, etched in spirals and handprints. Some fresh, some ancient, some too small to be human. This must be the Heartstone. You place your hand on it, and it responds. A deep pulse rolls through the stone, through your feet, into your lungs. You hear whispers, laughter, battle cries, lullabies. Then one voice louder than the others. She fell for love. He ran for pride. The wall swallowed both. You yank your hand back, gasping. What was that? Jiayi once told you the old myths say the wall was built atop a dragon's back to keep it still. Others say it's the dragon itself, stone turned to bone, turned to story. Some historians believe the Western Pass marks where construction began and where something went wrong. You step back, but not before noticing something carved into the floor beside the obelisk. Dozens of names, written in dozens of scripts. Not Chinese alone, not even just Asian languages. Some you don't recognize at all. A few are crossed out. One reads simply, Wei, your blood turns cold. Your friend, you don't remember him ever mentioning this place. But he did nudge you toward the duel, toward Tower 96. He always knew more than he let on. You hear footsteps behind you. You draw your sword, but it's only wind, or what pretends to be. You leave, climb back up, past the singing stones, past the absent ghost, back to the ruined gate where the trap door vanishes the moment you cross it. You're not sure if it ever existed. The next morning, Chung finds you hunched by the brazier, half asleep. You look like you saw a ghost, he says, sipping tea. I did, you mutter. He raises an eyebrow. Good, he says. Means you're ready. For what? He points east, toward the court messenger riding toward them. For what comes next? The Emperor, apparently, is dreaming again. And this time, his dreams involve the wall, and fire, and a woman singing beneath the stone. That night, as you lie on your cot and listen to Jiayi sketching stars above you, you wonder if the wall has a heart, and if you just touched it. By the time the messenger's hooves crunch across the courtyard, you're already wide awake, though pretending not to be. Jiayi leans against a parapet, arms crossed, eyes wary. Cheng's scrolls are nowhere to be seen. Even he knows when to hide the weird stuff. The imperial courier dismounts with theatrical urgency, his robes so starched they creak when he bows. And behind him, Sai, is none other than Duckface. Oh no, you whisper. He's back! Jiayi smirks. Try not to trip him. Again. Duckface approaches with the flourish of a man who thinks opening letters counts as cardio. He unfurls a scroll the length of a table runner and begins reading with the flat drama of a scholar who wanted to be an actor. By divine command of the Son of Heaven, the wall's current allocations shall be reviewed, with special attention to Tower 96 and surrounding districts deemed extraneous. Chung coughs behind him. Extraneous. Lovely. As harvest yields diminish and border conflicts intensify, His Majesty requires consolidation of forces. Select garrisons will be relocated. Relocated, you murmur. That sounds friendly. Means they're moving us, Jia says, her jaw tight. Or erasing us. Duckface rolls the scroll with a snap. The Ministry of Defense is considering merging this outpost with 2 others farther east. We'll be sending a noble inspector to evaluate your Vulju. A nobleman? Chung scoffs. That's like asking a swan to inspect a beehive. Duckface doesn't blink. He'll arrive in 3 days. You spend those 3 days watching the tower change. Guards clean uniforms they never wear. Jia sketches defensive plans no one will read. Chung pretends not to panic while reorganizing star charts by aesthetic frequency. You scrub walls and quietly dig up the singing tubes near the base of the tower, hiding them under your cot. Just in case the nobleman wants to burn your research for clarity. When he arrives, you hate him immediately. Lord Zhao travels with 4 guards, 2 horses, 1 chair. Yes, portable. And the air of someone who's never eaten food without gold on it. He's tall, angular, and has the permanent squint of someone trying to locate poor people in the distance. He enters the tower like a bored ghost. He says, tapping his ivory fan against his palm. This is, quaint. You fight the urge to toss him off the parapet. Lord Zhao listens to Chung's reports with 1 raised eyebrow and exactly 0 interest. Jia tries to show him a chart aligning sunrise with the wall's curve. He blinks once and says, I prefer paintings. Then he turns to you. And this one? You bow. Scout. Occasional translator. Very occasional sword fodder. He nods. Strong jawline. Might fit in well at court. You do not thank him. That night, over an awkward dinner of rice, boiled cabbage, and exactly 1 slice of duck, Zhao's, obviously, he finally gets to the point. This tower is unnecessary, he says between bites. Your data, what little of it is legible, is eccentric at best. The garrison numbers are pitiful. The region underdefended. Frankly, I expected ghosts. You and Jia lock eyes. Actually, you say. About that. Zhao pauses. Chung coughs. There have been sightings, whispers, phenomena. Jia adds. A local spirit, woman's voice, sings in the tunnels. Zhao leans back. So, we're appealing to superstition now? No, you say. We're warning you. He chuckles. Cute. He finishes his duck, wipes his mouth, and declares, I shall sleep in the western pass. The room goes silent. What now? Chung says. To disprove this peasant folklore, Zhao says smugly. I'll camp alone in the haunted ruin. No guards, no food testers. I trust the ghosts more than the cooks. You want to stop him? Jia opens her mouth, but Chung gives her a subtle shake of the head. Let him, he murmurs. Let the wall decide. That night, Zhao departs with a torch and a blanket woven from what he claims is imperial goose. You all stay up, waiting, listening. No screams, no moans. Just wind, rattling like laughter. At sunrise, you walk with Jia to the pass. The brazier is cold, the moss undisturbed. Zhao is gone. Only his fan remains, snapped in 2 beside the trapdoor, now sealed again, as if it never opened. No sign of struggle, no footprints, just the faintest hum in the stone, like distant humming. That afternoon, Duckface panics. He must have wandered off, got drunk. He does that. A lot. We'll say, horse trouble. You don't argue. You do, however, return the broken fan to the base of the obelisk that night. The name Zhao joins the others. You don't cross it out. Yet. Later, as you sit with Jiayi under the stars, she asks softly, "What if the wall is thinning? Between things?" You nod slowly. It's not just memory anymore. Then what is it? You look at the stones, the stars, the stretch of wall that vanishes into the mountains like a long stone snake curling into dreams. A mirror, you whisper, showing us the stuff we don't want to see. She doesn't argue. The wall doesn't either. But it hums. And somewhere, beneath all this stone and time, something hums back. The world beyond the wall smells like cold grass, horse sweat, and baked earth. And right now, betrayal. It starts with the envoy, not another stiff-robed imperial official, but a rugged, dust-covered man in leather and wool, arriving on horseback with a white flag. His cheek is scarred, his smile too casual for anyone not trying to distract you from something. He introduces himself as Erdeni. No title, no rank, just a name. He speaks fluent Mandarin, but with a soft accent that rolls like a distant drumbeat. "My master wishes to meet," he says, tossing Chung a small bone token etched with a falcon. He says it is time. Chung frowns. Time for what? But Erdeni just bows, turns, and gallops back toward the step. You think it's a joke, until Jiayi finds the matching token in your coat pocket that evening. You don't remember putting it there. Next thing you know, you're blindfolded, wrists lightly bound, and bouncing on the back of a Mongolian pony that seems unimpressed with your complaints. "Charming hospitality," you grumble. "Could be worse," says Erdeni, now riding beside you. "Last time, he made a noble crawl the whole way. Why am I here?" "You're interesting," Erdeni shrugs. And he's bored. Hours pass. The ground shifts from rocky to soft. The wind changes. There's the occasional jingle of metal or grunt of a rider, but no one talks. Your blindfold is tight, but you smell sagebrush. Hear music. Feel space. Then, halt. The cloth is yanked from your eyes, and the first thing you see is a fire. Then a yurt, domed and pale, with patterned banners that snap in the wind. And at the center of it all, a man. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a braid streaked in gray and a wolf skin draped casually over one shoulder, lounging on a low seat, sipping from a golden cup. He eyes you like you're an overdue letter. "Finally," he says in Mandarin. "The wall sends its ghost." You open your mouth, but he raises a finger. "Sit," he says. You do. His name is Altan, a minor prince, though he hates the term. "I'm no one's son but the wind's," he grunts. "But the Chinese love titles, so let's pretend." He pours you a drink, fermented mare's milk, because of course it is, and says, "Tell me what you know of the woman who sings beneath the stones." You nearly choke on your first sip. Altan watches closely. "You've heard her?" "She spoke to me," he replies. "Years ago. Said my war was coming." I laughed. "And now?" He gestures around the camp. "Now I dream of fire and smoke, of towers falling, and of you." "No pressure," you mutter. Altan chuckles. "Relax. I won't make you marry her." He pulls out a map, crude, drawn on hide, but eerily accurate. The wall snakes across it, bleeding ink in places. "There are soft spots," he says. Not weaknesses, membranes, places where dreams and memories seep through. He taps one. Western Pass. Another. Tower 96. Then a third, miles from either. Here, where your emperor once saw stars fall and mistook it for prophecy. Historians still argue whether that so-called meteor shower ever happened, you say. Or if he just dropped his lantern. Altan smiles. Exactly. But the wall remembers it. He leans in. What if it's not a wall, but a wound? That sticks. You ask the obvious. So why bring me here? He shrugs. Because we both know this won't last. The garrisons are shrinking. The courts are distracted. The wall is cracking. And when it falls, someone has to remember what it was. Why not you? I'll be busy setting things on fire, he says matter-of-factly. But I like you. You're weird. Thanks. Altan stands, gestures for you to follow. Outside the yurt, dozens of riders tend to their mounts, some singing, some sparring with short blades. No one looks at you with hostility. Curiosity, maybe, but not hate. He leads you to a small hill just outside the camp. From here, you can see the wall, distant, curling like a stone serpent across the land. I don't want to destroy it, Altan says. Just test it. He pulls a curved blade from his belt. Not to threaten you, he offers it. For when it gets loud, he says. Steel remembers what words forget. You take it. It's lighter than you expect. Perfectly balanced. Beautiful, in a haunted sort of way. You'll let me leave? You ask. He nods. By morning. But your path won't lead back where you started. You sleep in a spare tent that smells like horses and sage. The stars above are sharper here, like they've been watching longer. You dream of the wall crumbling, not from attack, but from inside, as if it sighs itself apart. At dawn, Erdani returns you to a path only you recognize, by a bent tree and a stone that looks like a yawning cat. No guards chase you, no arrows fly. You walk until the wall finds you again. Jiayi is waiting. You smell like milk and arrogance, she says. Missed you too, you reply. You show her the curved blade. She shows you something worse. A scroll. Imperial seal. Torn ribbon. A decree. The Emperor, it says, has issued a dream mandate. He believes the wall is cursed. He wants parts of it demolished. You both stare at each other in silence. Altan dreams of fire. The Emperor dreams of removal. And beneath the stones, something keeps singing. You sit by the tower steps with the scroll in your lap, rereading the Emperor's words, even though they don't change. He dreamed the wall should be taken down, not in a metaphorical, restructure bureaucracy way, but physically, stone by stone. To restore harmony with heaven and earth, he writes, the great wall shall yield to the wind. Jiayi stares at it like it might bite. Historians still argue whether that dream was real. Chung mutters. Or just something the Emperor made up to dodge rebellion rumors. You nod slowly. But either way, he's using it. What follows is weeks of confusion. Some garrisons receive the same decree. Others receive contradictory orders. One is told to fortify while another just 2 miles away is told to abandon post. The imperial courts have become a swirl of omens, dreams, and locust reports. And that's not an exaggeration. Locusts arrive 2 days later. They come in clouds so thick they block the sun. Crops vanish in minutes. Horses bolt. Jiayi whips a scarf around her face and keeps shouting, "Don't inhale them!" as though it's a thing she's had to yell before. The devastation is total. Millet fields razed. Fruit trees stripped. Even Cheng's experimental herb garden. Gone. Just tiny stalks waving like sad antennae. By nightfall, the whole tower smells like dust and panic. You gather with the others on the battlements, mouths dry, bellies emptier than usual. Jiayi paces. Cheng stares at the stars as if waiting for a better answer. "I've been charting the drought patterns," he murmurs. "They've been worse each year. The land is retreating. And now the Emperor wants the wall to retreat too," Jiayi says. "What's next? Turning the mountains upside down because he dreams they're angry?" But Cheng doesn't laugh. Instead, he pulls out a faded parchment, a copy of an older imperial dream. "This one's from 1421, he says. "An ancestor of the current emperor dreamed that the wall should rise higher, that the sky itself demanded it. 10 years of labor, 10,000 dead, because of a dream." You shiver. "So, now we tear it down for balance?" Cheng shrugs. "Balance or madness? Hard to say." The next morning, a demolition crew arrives. Not soldiers, not engineers, peasants. Dozens of conscripted laborers armed with chisels and mallets, supervised by 2 bored-looking officers, who immediately ask where the approved tier zone is. "There's a tier zone now?" Jiayi mutters. You lead them to a damaged southern wall segment, long unused. The officers nod, scratch their noses, and give the order to begin. The sound of stone cracking is the loudest thing you've ever heard. It feels wrong, like hammering a grave open. Cheng, visibly shaken, retreats into the tower. Jiayi helps direct the workers to stay clear of any unstable areas. You just sit there, watching the wall fall apart in chunks. You half expect the ghost woman to start screaming. Instead, there's only silence and dust. But that night, everything changes. You wake to muffled cries and a strange flickering light. Rushing out, you see flames on the horizon, then closer, then climbing toward the tower. Fields are burning, not just abandoned crops, grass, roots, pathways, and from the smoke, shadows on horseback. Bandits. No, too coordinated. "Altan?" Jiayi yells beside you. You squint. No banners, no drums. Then you see a torch fly, not thrown randomly, but deliberately. It arcs, lands in a storage hut, catches instantly. Cheng runs past, hair unbound, carrying his scrolls in a linen sack. "They're burning the wall!" You look over the edge, and your breath catches. The southern wall segment, the one just partially dismantled, is collapsing. Someone's pulled supports from beneath. Now the stones tumble with dull, final thuds. You race down. One of the officers is lying unconscious near the rubble. The workers have fled, either terrified or bribed. The fire dances in your peripheral vision. Somewhere, Jiayi is shouting orders. Arrows thud against wooden doors. A horn sounds, high and thin and wrong. And as you duck into the tower, something inside sings. The low, vibrating hum isn't mechanical. It's not from any torch, wind, or instrument. It's from the stones. Beneath your feet, they're singing. You stagger toward the base, toward the spot where you buried the humming tubes. They're glowing faintly, pale blue, like moonlight underwater. Cheng bursts in behind you, scrolls clutched like a lifeline. You feel it too? What is it? He kneels. I think it's reacting. To destruction. To fire. To fear. Jiayi appears in the doorway, smeared with soot, sword drawn. They've breached the south side, she says grimly. Whoever they are, they're not here to raid. They're here to erase. You all look at each other. Then, without a word, Begin carrying what you can to the upper levels. Maps, records, the singing stones. Jie helps a limping officer up the stairs, while Chung ties his scrolls into bundles with worn belts. You reach the top tower just as the fire licks the foundation. Down below, shadows move. Silent, swift, erasing what's left of your home. The wind picks up. The wall groans. An old, angry groan, like a mountain trying not to wake up. "Is this it?" Jie asks softly. You don't know. You look toward the east, where another fire burns. Not from attack, but a ceremonial one. Another wall segment, lit from within. And you realize, it's not just here. The Emperor's dream is spreading. It's working. Someone is tearing down the memory. One hammer, one torch, one dream at a time, and you're just one ghost trying to hold it together. Smoke finds your lungs before you even wake. You jerk upright in the narrow cot at the top of the tower, coughing so hard your ribs ache. The sky outside is no longer sky, just a dense swirl of gray and orange. The scent of burning millet, scorched wood, and crumbling mortar wraps itself around everything. Jie is already on her feet, hair tied back, face streaked with ash. She kicks open the hatch to the stairwell. "Wake up, Chung. It's happening." You grope for your boots with trembling fingers. The tower shudders again. A deep, grinding vibration you feel in your teeth. Down below, someone screams. Maybe two someones. Maybe one scream in two tones. Your dream self has no time to think, only to run. The descent is dizzying. The stairs tilt unnaturally, like the whole tower is leaning forward. A cracked beam above your head creaks ominously, and Jie shouts, "Left side! Hug the wall!" as part of the floor gives way behind you. You land in the barracks where soldiers once snored and gossiped and played bone dice. Now it's empty, or rather, emptied. Footsteps, a trail of blood, and one overturned cooking pot are the only signs anyone was ever here. Outside, the chaos is complete. The outer wall is breached, again, but not in the same way. This time, it's not saboteurs or flames doing the damage. It's the wall itself, shedding. Stone chunks collapse in jagged lines, almost rhythmically. You swear, in your dream logic, it's like the wall is trying to remove pieces of itself. Like it's tired. And people, so many people, run. Not just soldiers, traders, villagers from nearby. A few desperate monks clutching relics. They pour through broken gates, ducking falling debris, coughing, shouting, some dragging goats that clearly did not sign up for any of this. You grab Jie's arm as a flaming timber falls behind her. "Chung! He's up in the observatory with the star charts," she pants. "Of course he is," you mutter, and bolt. The observatory is barely standing. Half the roof is gone. A decorative bronze armillary sphere rolls past you like it's late for something. Inside, Chung is, no surprise, still arranging scrolls like the world isn't on fire. "These charts go back to the Yongle Emperor," he snaps as you grab his sleeve. "Yes, and the Yongle Emperor isn't here to stop you from dying in them," you say, dragging him out. As you descend, a second wave of tremors shakes the tower. This one comes with sound. A deep moaning, like stone crying underwater. The same haunting frequency you heard from the buried singing tubes. Jie skids into view again, pointing frantically toward the western stair. "This way! The eastern base just collapsed!" You run. Together, the three of you sprint through a hall that's half dust, half fire. You dodge a toppling column, leap over a fallen body, and then… crash! The stairwell behind you is gone. You reach the outer courtyard. The stables are burning. Horses long since fled. One stubborn donkey stands in the middle of it all, chewing what looks like a saddle strap and blinking like none of this concerns him. "Get him," Jiayi says breathlessly. "He's our only transport now." "No offense," Chung mutters, "but I refuse to die beside a donkey." But you all climb aboard, Jiayi up front, you in the back. Chung clinging sideways with a bundle of charts tied around his neck like a confused messenger pigeon. The donkey trots with maddening calm through crumbling stone and embers. The wall looms overhead, its silhouette barely visible through smoke. From here, you can see a line of towers, several leaning, one completely fallen. It's like watching a row of old teeth loosen. People still flee. Others pause to help neighbors. You hear a child calling for someone, maybe a parent, maybe a sibling. You turn to look, but Jiayi pulls you forward. No time. And she's right. You barely make it over the ridge before the tower you slept in just folds in on itself. Not like an explosion, but like an exhausted structure giving up. From this hill, panting, hand scraped, donkey wheezing, you finally stop. Behind you, smoke, fire, a jagged horizon where once stood proud stone. Ahead, silence, fields, mountains, the broken bones of the wall trailing into shadow. And then, footsteps. Dozens. You tense, blade in hand. But it's not attackers. It's people. From towers east and west. Soldiers, workers, one musician with a cracked flute. They gather on the hilltop in stunned silence, faces smeared with soot. No one speaks. Then Jiayi whispers, "Look!" She points behind you. From the smoke, something moves, something huge. You squint. A chunk of the wall, half supported by cracked columns, seems to shift. Not fall. Move. Like it's adjusting itself. Like a giant exhaling. The humming resumes. That underwater note. Low, steady, trembling through your chest. Even the donkey freezes. Chung opens his mouth, shuts it, then says softly, "It's not falling. It's retreating. Or transforming," you whisper. Because now, dream or not, you feel it. The wall isn't just a barrier. It's a memory. A memory so old it forgets its own name. And right now, it's dreaming too. Historians will never agree whether this night was rebellion, sabotage, or a supernatural event. Some say underground shifts weakened the stone. Others point to the locusts and fire as symbols of divine displeasure. But for you, watching the wall inhale and release stone as if purging a nightmare, it's none of that. It's personal. Jiayi turns to you. "What now?" You breathe in the ash-heavy air. "We follow it." "Follow what?" "The wall is crumbling." "Exactly," you say. "But it's going somewhere." From behind the smoke, faintly, you hear something impossible. The sound of new stone, growing, like bricks rising in reverse. You look at the donkey. He shrugs. You mount up again. Jiayi climbs behind. Chung rolls his eyes and hops on with a grunt. Together, with dozens of others, you begin to walk, chasing a wall that isn't just breaking, but becoming. And in your ears, the hum continues. The wind has calmed. but the world hasn't. You move through a silent landscape with soot in your hair, half-laced boots, and the kind of bone-deep fatigue that dreams rarely let you feel. Behind you, the Great Wall is no longer a solid, proud line. It's a broken sentence, fragmented towers, slanted watch posts, pieces of once grand stone sinking into the dust like ancient footprints being erased by wind. Around you, the survivors from the garrison, Jiayi, Cheng, and a slow but admirably stubborn donkey, walk in loose silence. There are maybe 30 others. No one says much. What could you say? That you used to dream of being here? That you might still be dreaming? That the wall, everyone thought unmoving, unyielding, eternal, just decided it was tired of being itself? You stop for a moment on a ridge. Ahead lies the western horizon, tinged with fading amber. There, you spot the soft ripple of banners, tattered but still flying. A lone outpost that somehow hasn't collapsed. Yet. Jiayi nudges your shoulder. Do we keep going? You look around. Not sure there's a stay option left. She smirks faintly. Fair. You descend into the valley and reach the crumbling steps of what used to be an outer barracks. A few figures emerge, one missing half a uniform, another in scholar's robes, one barefoot. They look at you not with suspicion, but with the quiet recognition of people who've seen everything fall apart and still had the nerve to keep walking. Inside, the rooms are bare. Sand creeps in through the cracks. You sit against a wall, too tired to speak. Chung collapses next to you, scrolls intact. You think it's still happening in the east? No idea, you murmur. Maybe it was always happening. We just started noticing. From outside, the sky dims. Dusk arrives like a secret being whispered to the land. Jiayi returns from scavenging with a pot of cold rice, half charred but edible. Dinner of champions! She grins. You eat in silence. Somewhere nearby, someone has found an old guqin and begins plucking tentative, mournful notes. The donkey seems to approve, and then the ground shifts again. Not an earthquake, not a collapse. A pull. Gentle. Internal. Like gravity asking a question. You stand, slowly, carefully, and walk to the edge of the camp. There it is. Not far ahead, past the ruined slopes and smoke-soft hills, a portion of the wall is being rebuilt. But not by hands, by time. Stone drifts into place, not flying, but suggesting itself into alignment. Like memories reforming. A tower reassembles itself, not brick by brick, but gesture by gesture. Gaps close, not with mortar, but with the soft finality of a yawn ending. Chung appears beside you. Am I hallucinating? Yes, you say, but it's a shared one, so we're fine. Jiayi watches too, arms folded. That part wasn't on any of the original blueprints. Nope, you reply. Definitely an improvisation. She looks thoughtful. Maybe that's the point. And it hits you. The wall isn't dying. It's dreaming. All these centuries, it's held stories in its stones. Marches, invasions, loves, losses, ghost brides, locust swarms, emperors too proud to blink. All of it soaked into the mortar like spilled tea on parchment. And now, it's rethinking itself. Your body feels heavier, but not with dread, with permission. To stop carrying everything. You turn to Jiayi and Chung. I think it's done with us. You mean it's letting us go? Chung asks. You nod. Or maybe it's waking up and doesn't need us inside the dream anymore. So you all sit down, on the dry grass, the cracked tiles, the donkey's surprisingly warm flank. And together, you rest. Your eyes drift shut, not out of fear or exhaustion this time, but because, for the first time in the entire dream, you can. Darkness falls gently. There's no jolt, no falling sensation, no pop of consciousness. Just the sensation of your breath slowing, your heart sinking with the rhythm of stone and time and silence. And then, light, warm, sunlight, slicing through your eyelids like soft threads. You blink, bleary-eyed. The world looks cleaner, realer. Your sheets are familiar. The fan above your head hums gently. You're in your room, back. The dream is over. But there's something in your hand. You sit up and open it. A tiny flake of mortar, pale, brittle, and impossibly smooth. You smile, and outside your window, the early sun casts long golden lines, like ancient walls that never needed to stay up forever to mean something. Your breath slows now. The journey is behind you, and all that's left is the steady, quiet rhythm of stillness. Maybe your legs still ache a little from climbing crumbling towers. Maybe the scent of distant smoke still lingers faintly behind your eyelids. But it fades, gently, just like the walls did. Let your head sink into the pillow. There's no more running, no more whispers of ghost stories, no more creaking stones or falling bricks. Just the calm exhale of the world setting itself down. Imagine the wall now, not as it was, but as it feels. Something vast, patient, ancient, not angry, not proud, just resting, like you. The air cools in your room. The fan hums like a lullaby from another lifetime. Your fingers unclench. Your eyes blink slower. And even if that dream was only a dream, something about it lingers. Not fear, not confusion. Just weightlessness. You drift gently now, between sleep and waking, between centuries and seconds, between the bricks we build in our minds and the stories they shelter. Let them crumble. Let them rebuild. You're safe here. There's nothing left to carry, nothing chasing you now. Just stone turning back to sand. And the quiet hush of a world that kept its secrets just long enough to whisper them to you. Shh. Sleep well. You made it.